Hello, this is Graduwane, and today I want to talk about video games. To be honest, everyone knows something about the video game crash, and everyone has their own theories as to why video games crashed back in the early 80s. And yet, they don't have the right answer. They don't really know what happened, because they look at it from a video game point of view. And that's the wrong way to look at the problem. So really, excuse me a minute. I think I need a little bit of poison from the mainstream. Video games were big in the late 70s and in the early 80s, but then the market imploded. The systems that were around at the time, they stopped selling the video games that everyone was making from all sorts of manufacturers, from CBS to Activision, back when they actually made games worth buying, to all sorts of companies, from making games from wrestling cartridges. Yes, there was one for the Atari 2600, to space shooters, platformers, all sorts of games, arcade adaptations from Hubert to Popeye to Frogger. And there were some companies that made video games for all sorts of consoles. Intellivision, Atari, the Consputers at the time, my joke writers, portmanteau of console and computers, and those early home computers were actually consoles as well, so Consputer. And yet they all pretty much imploded. Most of them went out of business. Why? Take a look at this, and you'll know why. Alright, you decided these video games are pretty much a money in the bank. You'll open up your own store. So you find the addresses of video game publishers, you put out some orders, you rent a cash register, rent some store space. Hey, you got a video game store. The customers will practically just come in droves and just buy everything off the shelves. You'll make money hand over fist. But watch this. Looks like you're not the only one trying to cash in on this. Oh, and looky here. You're also going up against department stores and electronics stores. But all this confuses the video game publisher. He's getting all these orders from everyone. Eventually, though, they say, hey, increase the production facilities. We gotta make more video games. We're making money hand over fist. Everyone wants to buy these. And then comes next year. Look at this. Turns out you can't sell more than one copy of Pac-Man to a family. Those things are built to last. And if they get it from your store or someone else's store, or the electronics store or the department store, they have the one copy. They don't need another. You can only sell so many video games in one place. So, yeah, you kind of went out of business that year. Oh well, that's what happens. But the video game publisher doesn't realize this. He thinks he has all those same outlets that he had before, so he's pumping up production, ready for the next year's sales. And it turns out most of those places that he sold to are out of business. And those that are still in business, like the department stores and the electronic stores, have greatly decreased their orders. Yeah, if they still order at all, yeah, some of them, yeah, they just, no, we ain't ordering anymore. We're trying to get rid of what we already have. So those video game publishers become stuck with all that overproduced stuff, because they were expecting to sell to these stores again. They weren't expecting all these stores that they shipped to die within 1 year. So they became stuck with a lot of stock that couldn't be sold at high enough prices to save their companies. They bankrupted themselves, relying upon the sales of these little stores that opened up and closed practically within months. That's what caused the video game crash, people. It's not that people didn't want video games. It's that people over-anticipated the desire for video games. People didn't realize that once you buy a copy of a cartridge, you don't need another. And so over-ordering and not realizing you're competing with all these other people that are also trying to sell that one copy of that one cartridge kind of hurt everyone in the long run. People cashing in on a craze. That's what happens when you cash in on a craze. You lose money rapidly. Now, I'm a person who discusses comic books. What the hell am I doing talking about video games? Because the same problem happened to comic books. In the early 80s, the comic book market was starting to free itself of the monopoly of newsstand distribution. They were going to stores directly that just sold comic books. It was called direct distribution. And from this, companies started going with new ideas. They had created anthologies. They went with funny animal books, parodies, all these things that really in the newsstand wouldn't really have sold that much. But thanks to distribution and the design of the comic stores, which catered to a lot of customers who ordered a little each time. Instead of trying to sell 20 books to one person, they were willing to sell 3 or 4 books to 20, 25, 30 people. Smaller volume per person, but larger volume overall. Just from different companies instead of just 1 or 2. It worked for the most part. But there came along comic books that proved to be immensely popular. Stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Cerebus the Aardvark and a few other black and white titles. The smaller companies, the independents, couldn't afford color. Many of them couldn't since they were their own publisher. So they went with black and white. It's cheaper than using a 4-color separation. And some of these books proved popular, and companies started cashing in on it. A number of smaller publishers sprang up. Some companies started publishing some black and whites experimentally. And some, just to save money, dropped their color and went with black and white, expecting sales to remain. And all the stores started cashing in on black and white. Because black and white was the next big thing. So stores over-ordered these books, expecting them to be popular because they're black and white. That went over like a lead balloon, and many of these stores went under. And therefore, many of the publishers as well. The problem is that it didn't just happen once. During the image, not substance era, when glut was controlling the marketplace, and I'll do a show on that, you be sure on that, stores started cashing in on gimmick covers and all sorts of fancy books, reprints, high artists, hot writers, for a few of them. These started trying to oversell the gimmicks, trying to pump out as many as they can. The publishers would, and the stores would try to sell as many as they can, and people were buying as many as they could in hopes of reselling them to someone else. and make some money back on what they paid. That means it got even worse than it was during the black and white phase, since everyone who bought 5 or 6 copies of a hot title suddenly were their own store, trying to unload those books as well. And that one collapsed even faster. And bigger name companies hurt very badly. One even went under because of it. Well, Valiant became Acclaim. I don't consider that a step up. And it got even worse than that, because it went from the image not substance era to the bad girl craze. And because of that, these stores did it again. Stores sprang up to sell bad girl comics. And yeah, when that imploded, those stores went under too. And it really hurts the comics market overall, because you don't know where to go for comic books, really. If you want to buy comics at a place, you don't know if that shop is going to be around for a while. You know, it just sprang up. Will it still be there in a year from now? Who knows? Some of the older stores that decided not to cash in on those crazy crazes are still around. Maybe they indulged in it a little bit to make a little bit of extra money, but they weren't going crazy with it. They weren't trying to pretty much pad out the entire store with craze-derived, fad-derived comic books. These fads, they don't help the marketplace for us. They make people become convinced that they can cash in on this fad easy, make a lot of money, have a lot of customers real fast that will come in, buy all their product, and go out. It doesn't work that way. You need to build a customer base on a reliable product. If you're just coming in just to sell books that are a fad right now, you gotta remember, there's gotta be at least 7 or 8 people out there with the same idea, and you're also going up against the stores that have been there a lot longer and know what they're doing a lot better than you, and are going to be around when you go under. Because you're trying to cash in on a fad, and they can do it a lot better than you, and they won't bank on it. They'll bank on their regular customers that buy regular books. You're going to be losing your shirt if you try cashing in on a fad. That's not a certain guarantee, but 99.999 continued on to near infinity is damn near close to 1. I'm Graduwane, and I'm just telling it like it is. Time to finish off some poison. That's good Lady Death. Wait a second. No, I think I might be tasting some radioactive black belt hamsters in this. Or it could be Valiant. Yeah, tastes like gold cover. Probably Valiant. This has been Poison from the Mainstream. And remember, it's just like any other poison. Too much and it can kill your common sense. If you like my analysis, why don't you check out Trendy Indies over at Blip TV. Dark Driver analyzes comic books the same way I analyze the comics market. I'm certain you'll like it.